Hey, it's the publisher here, Mr. Kelly Cole. Listen, if you are a former professional athlete, if you are a former college athlete or sports coach, and you're looking to launch your speaking career, let me tell you, you need a book. If you're already out there speaking and you want to track more high paid speaking engagements, you need a book. It's not about creating more content to post on social media. It's not about recording a bunch of videos. It's not about doing more podcasts. The number one secret to attracting more high paid speaking engagements or even launching your speaking career is a book. Hey, I'm the publisher, Mr. Kelly Cole, and I help former athletes and sports coaches create best-selling books in 30 days to launch their speaking career, even if they hate writing and don't know where to start. So for the first time ever, I've created a free case study video that will not only show you how to write a book from scratch in as little as 30 days and become a best-selling author, it will also show you how to attract more high-paid speaking engagements. Now, to check out this free case study video, click the link that says learn more or go to booksforathletes.com. Real quick before you go, do not go if you're not a former athlete or a sports coach, because you won't find any value in what I'm about to share. And don't go if your book is already out and already on Amazon. You won't find any value in what I share over there. But if you are a former athlete or sports coach, know that you need a book, or already out there speaking and you want to launch your speaking career, go check out that link now. Writing a book is not as hard as you think. It doesn't even matter if you don't know where to start. My case study video will show you how to start and get it done and onto the bestsellers list. So go now.
Welcome to the Books for Athletes podcast with your host, the publisher, Mr. Kelly Cole. Mr. Cole, a former athlete and best-selling author himself, has set out to take you behind the scenes of some of sports' forgotten heroes. He sits down with former professional athletes, college athletes, and sports coaches as they share stories of triumph, defeat, dedication, and perseverance. Here's Kelly.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Books for Athletes podcast. Today, we got a special guest, my man, businessman now, former NFL, but my man, Willie Green. How are you, sir?
Doing well. And yourself, Brother Cole?
I am doing good, man. Thank you so much
Good.
for agreeing to be on the podcast today.
Oh, thanks for inviting me.
Cool. So we're gonna jump in a little bit. Start talking about your journey. I don't want to give away all the way, all of the info in the book, but I do want to touch on some things to, get people excited about it so they go check out the book. First things first, like what was it like growing up in Athens, Georgia, one of 13 children? What was that like?
Well, it was a blessing. I mean, I loved it. I was the baby boy. I have a younger sister, so I had older brothers and sisters. So obviously, most of them had moved out of the house by the time I was really old enough to understand. And the benefit of it was that my brothers and sisters were the ones who helped me learn how to drive, right? They had went through those lessons. So I enjoyed it. I mean, it was, being part of a big family. As I mentioned in the book, my mom had 18 brothers and sisters, right? And my dad, he had two other brothers. So we always grew up in a big family oriented home. So it was enjoyable.
Yeah, it's good. I come from a big family as well, but I'm the reverse. I'm the oldest. So I got seven sisters and 6 brothers all together.
Oh, wow.
And I'm the oldest, which is crazy. Yeah.
Oh, God. So yeah, that is the reverse.
The opposite, complete opposite, man. And you talk about your relationship with your father, man. Talk about some of those moments, like just sitting on the railroad watching the Georgia football games, man. What was that like?
Man, let me tell you, and I think in this day and age, where families are so isolated now, where the father's not in the picture for whatever reason, I grew up, I was blessed. Me and my brothers and sisters were blessed to grow up with a father who was not an abusive father. My father never drank, and I kind of took that from him. He smoked cigarettes, I mean, but he never drank alcohol, never did drugs. And I guess because I was the youngest one, I was the baby boy, so I spent most of my time with my dad. I
Yeah.
mean, he was a janitor, as I talk about. He cleaned the movie theaters and he cleaned the post office. So I would go to work with him, and I enjoyed it. Right. I mean, I enjoyed going to work with him, getting to clean up and eating popcorn and stuff like that. But also the relationship that he and I had, where, my father never drove a car, never had license. And regardless of what sport I played, whether it was basketball, baseball, or football, and I was a big baseball guy.
Yeah.
I mean, if we didn't catch rides to my baseball games or practices, him and I would walk and to the games and practices and even to work. And, I grew up in Athens, which is the University of Georgia, as you talked about.
Yeah.
But I grew up in a time where before the bus transit system. So my mom worked at the youth center. She opened the center at 2 o'clock in the evening, and she worked till 9, 10 o'clock at night. So so if my dad had to go to work, he walked. This was before transit. If he didn't catch a ride, he would have to catch a taxi. And most of the time he couldn't afford to catch a taxi unless he called one of his friends.
Yeah.
But we would walk from my projects to his jobs.
Wow.
To downtown, and I've measured it off. It's like 7-8 mile a walk, and this is both ways. So having that relationship with him, and he was a type of father. My brothers and sisters, you said we would rather for my dad to whoop us than my mom, right? Because my dad and my mom was a great woman. She's a Christian woman, never cursed. But she was a lot harder on us than my dad was, sort of the cream puff. But one of the things about my father, he did whip me, and he did whip my brothers and sisters. And the thing that I loved about my father is after he whipped me, he sat me down and explained to me why. It wasn't like he whooped me and said, "Go into your room." He let me know why I did this, and he was showing me I'm trying to get you prepared for the future.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to be able to get away with the stuff you're getting away with as a kid, as an adult.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to make sure that you understand that you're going to be for your actions early on. So, and he used to say to me, you got to make right decisions instead of popular decisions. And what he meant by that is when you're making popular decisions, they have short-term gains. It's popular to drink. It's popular to do the drugs. It's popular to go out here and steal and be mischievous. And you get that short-term gratification of that, right? But there's long-term consequences to popular decisions. Whereas right decisions, you don't immediately see any gratification to it. But long-term, like I don't drink, I never did drugs. I tried to stay out of trouble. I was more of a stay to myself. I don't have those health issues, right? I don't have those drinking issues that comes with those long-term consequences.
Same. Yeah, I agree 100%. Because my dad didn't drink, I've never drank. I've never smoked or done any drugs. So I get that 100%. But speaking of that, though, that brings up, what you talked about in the book, your friend, the difference between a friend and an associate, and your friend, the one who got involved in dealing drugs and stuff, but never wanted you a part of that. Talk about that a little bit, and versus the associate who tried to get you wrapped up in some stuff and do something you shouldn't.
Yeah, sure. I tell the story, and this is about popular decisions versus right decisions. And also it's about, my father used to tell me, a friend would never ask you to do something that will get you in trouble. Mm-hmm. And so I tell the story in the book about two separate people that I grew up with. That one name is David. We call him Beaver, David Taylor. His brother was John. His mom was Pearl, and they were known drug dealers. His mom was a known drug dealer in our projects. I mean, it wasn't no secret, right? And I remember one Saturday, the way we grew up in the projects, you know how the projects is everybody's close. So we would all meet up at our house, my house, because our house was a gathering house. And then we would go and to other people's house, pick them up, and then we go play basketball, volleyball, whatever. I mean, not basketball, baseball, and stuff like that. Well, I remember going over David's house, and luckily we got there late because someone had came and shot up his mom's house, came down from Atlanta. And I mean, they literally live in the apartment behind ours. So you come out of our back door and you could walk about 20 yards into their back door.
Wow.
But David knew, and I shared this with him when I was writing this book, that he knew he grew up that way. And as we got older and got into high school and he started getting more and more into it and and I went off to college and I would come home, he would tell me, get off from around me, especially when he was doing his business. He did not want me caught up in that. And that was sort of the same way with a lot of older men in our communities that were doing that stuff, and they saw we had a future. They weren't trying to drag us into it. Yeah. And David ended up going to federal prison for years, and he got out, and now he's married, got a kid, living a reasonable life. Yeah. He's a motivational speaker now, talking about that. So I shared a story about, during his time in federal prison, during his time out, he never called me and said, hey, man, you owe me because you remember I gave you this and I gave you that. And he used to, right? We used to go to McDonald's and stuff, and he would pay for our food because we didn't have money. But he never threw it in my face that, hey, man, I did this for you. Can you put some money on my books? Or can you put some money for my commissary? Or, hey, man, can you send me some money? He never attempted to call me when he was in prison.
Yo, what up? It's your girl, JC. And listen, I have to send a special shout out to my guy, Mr. Kelly Cole, and the entire team at Publishing Advantage Group and Books for Athletes. They took so great care of me to the point that I know I'm the pickiest person. This book was supposed to have been finished last summer. However, there were some details that I needed to make sure that the book had because my audience needed it. And, when it comes down to feeding and serving the people, especially as a former athlete and telling your story, you cannot be selfish with the material and give it away. And they worked with me from the time of my thought process to the time of conception, all the way down to now, top 20 hot release best-selling author on Amazon in 24 hours. Listen, if you're an athlete, you have a story to tell, and you don't know how to put it in book form just yet, don't worry, you're not alone, okay? Hit my guy, Mr. Kelly Cole, and tell him what you're trying to do, and I promise you he gonna get you right, all right? And of course, check me out on Amazon after the season. Shout out to the Books for Athletes family.
Contrast to that, another gentleman I grew up with by the name of Big T, Curtis Howard, he was a big-time drug dealer, and I tell the story that when I was my second or third year in Detroit, and I had a house in Stone Mountain, Georgia, and Big T lived in Atlanta. And I remember we met up at Magic City. This is before my days of marriage, so disclosure. Right. And he was a known big drug dealer. And he called me to a meeting and said, look, man, I'm paraphrasing, but I want to buy a house in Alpharetta, and I've got $500,000 here and I can't buy it in my name. Would you buy it in your name? And I remember like it was yesterday, I was like, Big T, man, you know me, you grew up with me. If you were a true friend of mine, you wouldn't ask me to do that, especially where I am in my career. Yeah. And the fact that I didn't do that type of stuff. And so fast forward, a couple of years later, I get a call from my cousin and said, man, they got Big T on federal drug charges. And I'm thinking in my mind, hey, man, imagine, if that house would have been in my name. Yeah. Right. I don't doubt for a minute that he would have probably said, I'm not the kingpin. Willie Green is a kingpin, or he's laundering my money. Right. Now I'm second, third year in the league, man. My career and my life would have been over. Yeah. But me making that right decision and not the popular decision to follow him just because we grew up together. And I shared a story in the book about Tony Martin, right? He did it. And he almost went to federal prison. The only thing that kept him out of federal prison was the fact that his attorney argued there's no way Tony is a money launderer because he can't even manage his own money.
Right.
right? I couldn't use that as a defense.
Right.
And so I knew when I got in the league that I had to disassociate myself with guys that I grew up with. I had to disassociate myself with friends and families who was engaging in that type of activity that could have brought me into that circle. So I was smart enough to disassociate myself from them. Whereas you see so many guys, the family members and the friends make them feel guilty and say, man, I helped you got here. No, hell, you didn't. You didn't get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and run 3 miles with me. You didn't go out here and watch film with me. You didn't do that. So don't tell me you helped me get where I am. You cheered me on,
Yeah.
but I would have done it whether you were in the stands or not.
Yeah. That's good. That's good, man. So, and speaking on that, transitioning, like you were in the league, and like you said, at the time when he asked you to do that, you were only making 85,000, right? That was your contract.
Yeah. How could I justify buying $500,000 in cash when I'm 2 years out of college, making $85,000 in my first salary with a $15,000 signing bonus? How could
Right.
I justify that?
No way. And I mean, and like people don't even think about that. So he just wanted what he wanted, and he, like you said, he would have just threw you under the bus when it came time to. But talking about going back to that too, what was interesting is you actually lived in a Super 8 motel as an NFL player. Talk
Yeah.
about that. That's crazy.
Yeah, myself, Eric Kramer, and a number of us, we were, I got drafted by Detroit, and I went up in I think June and started summer workouts. And so in the NFL, you don't start getting paid your salary until you make the 53-man roster,
Right.
which is not until really late July, I'm sorry, late August, September when the season starts. And they give you off-season workout money, but it's only like $50 at the time. It was $50 or $75 a day, right? So no, I didn't have enough money. Eric Kramer and I, because he had just came from Eric crossed the picket line because I think he was in Canada or somewhere before, but he was one of those players that crossed the picket line. So he wasn't making a lot of money at the time. And so a lot of us was up there, myself, him, Darrell Wallace, and Frank Pillow, and it was Don Overton. I mean, there was a lot of us staying in Super 8 motel because we were only making $50 a day, working out, $50 to $75, something like that, before taxes,
Wow.
right? So we didn't have the luxury like Barry Sanders and all them other guys to buy houses. So we had to slum it. And Eric and I shared a Super 8 motel. We had double beds. We had a sofa bed in there. So we racked up for that until training camp came. We were so happy when training camp came, so we could stay in the hotel, right, at the Holiday Inn with the team and get 3 meals a day, right, because we had to pay for our own food while we were there during the off season.
Wow. Yeah, you talk about too when once you got closer to the end of your career, when you knew it was going to be over at Baltimore, at Denver, right?
Yeah.
And they wanted you to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
They insulted you. Talk about that.
Well, I didn't, I guess me at that point in time in my career, because of the fact that I had guys mentoring me very early on, like Jerry Rice and Sterling Sharp, because these guys were in the NFC.
Yeah.
So, and Jerry was from Mississippi Valley. I went to Ole Miss, so he kind of took me under his wings, and Sterling Sharp is from Georgia, so he kind of took me under his wing. And then I had guys on the team like Lomas Brown and Mike Kofa and Kevin Glover. Those are I hung out with the linemen. So those guys taught me very early on that Willie, this is not personal. Don't take it personal. This is all business. These people are not your friend. The only person that they friends with on this team is Barry Sanders and Chris Spielman. So you just another person. So I learned early on the business side of this and understanding the business side. So with that said,
Yeah.
I had signed a 4-year contract with Denver. And so after the first year, they drafted Marcus Nash in the 3rd round. Now I'm in my 8th and 9th year. And so we had Shannon Sharp, we had Ed McCaffrey and Rod Smith that were up and coming at the time. And then you had Terrell Davis. So John Elway had a whole bunch of weapons to throw to. And so I signed with Denver. And then after the first year, we won Super Bowl. They drafted Marcus Nash in the 1st round. And Coach Shanahan started coming to me right after the season saying, we want you to take a pay cut. So my salary at that time was $1 million a year, right? $1 million for that year. So we were going back and forth. Even though I had an agent, Jimmy Sexton and Kyle Rote, who Jimmy Sexton represents a whole bunch of people now, all your top players and coaches and GMs, we were going back and forth negotiating. And I was always part of my negotiations, right? I didn't just leave it up to my agent to do it. I was a part of my negotiations. So we were going back and forth. They wanted me to take a pay cut. I was saying, okay, I'm willing to take a pay cut, but I was trying to get 10 years in the league, for whatever reason, 10 years, that's that double-digit number. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I'm scheduled to make $1 million. Give me $500,000 this year, guarantee me another $500,000 in my 10th year. And Mike Shanahan was like, no, we're not doing that. So we went back and forth through training camp. And Mike Shanahan said, well, here's what we're going to do, Willie. And again, it's not personal. He said, here's what we're going to do. He said, the last preseason game, we're going to hold you out. We're not going to dress you. And we're going to wait till the last person to cut. We're going to cut you. And by that time, other teams have already got their roster. You know how this goes.
Yep.
And they said, we're going to cut you. And if you don't take the pay cut. And I took a gamble. And the reason why I was able to take that gamble, Brother Cole, is because when I signed with Denver and I got my signing bonus, which was $950,000, and I think my base salary was like $700,000, $800,000 that year.
Yeah.
The 2 things that I bought, I got married in June after I signed my contract in March of 97. I got married in June, and I bought my house in October, and I started my own business in November. Even though I was still working at playing, my wife and I started our own financial services store. So I was not afraid of leaving the league because I had something to transition to.
Right.
We didn't live an extravagant lifestyle, right? My wife is an accountant. She has a degree in accounting. So she's a cheapskate. She takes pride in, using coupons, shopping at Kmart, Walmart, getting the sales. So I was comfortable and I had leverage for myself to say, okay, well, I'll just go and continue to run my own business. And so we got down to that day and we were flying back from Tennessee. That was the last preseason game. And we played the Titans. They didn't dress me, right? I was inactive.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Tyler Campbell, and I am the author of The Ball Came Out, Life on the Other Side of the Field, brought to you by none other than the Publishing Advantage Group, Kelly Cole, and the entire team. Let me tell y'all something about them. Listen, they are there to help you. They really want to see you win. They want to help you get that message out. And collectively, as a team, you never feel like you're alone. There's no such thing as a bad question. They know the industry so well that they help you convey the message that will feed the masses of individuals that you come across. My book is #2 new release book on Amazon already, and it's already an Amazon bestseller. I hadn't even been a full week yet. All right. These individuals know what they know about the industry and they share it with you. Right. And they only want to see you win. You're handled with care. Make your book a bestseller today and go with the Publishing Advantage Group. They want nothing but the best for you.
And they're cutting guys on the plane. And you know how it is. And a lot of these teams, except for like Carolina, where I was in Carolina, all the veterans sat in first class. and the coaches sat right behind first class, and then the rest of the players sit in the back. The other teams, all the coaches sit in first class, and all your players sit in the back. And the older you are, veteran wise, the further you're in the back of the plane. The old saying is, you'll be you'll be the last one they cut because you're so far back behind in the plane.
Mm-hmm.
And they were cutting guys and trading guys on the plane. So I got called up, and I'm having to walk. I'm like the second row from the back of the plane, right? So I'm having to walk past all my teammates, the media, the people who travel, and got up to first class. And Mike Shanahan said, well, Marcus didn't work out. He needs some time to develop. We're going to keep you on as a third down guy. Willie, no disrespect. This is just business. I said, Mike, I understand it. And so I walked back, and I sat next to Ed McCaffrey, and Rod sat in front of us, Rod Smith, the other receivers. And when I got back to him, I called both of them. I said, listen, I not called him. I said, let's have a conversation. I said, whatever incentives for his playing time, catches, all that y'all need, tell me. And I said, don't feel that you have to come out of the game to give me no playing time. Make your money. I said, because once I made the team, my contract was guaranteed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Once I played the first game. I said, so don't worry about it. I said, y'all make all the money you can. I'm on my way out the door.
Yeah.
And, that's what a lot of people don't see, that side of football. I use the analogy of what people see us as athletes is like seeing a swan gracing so elegantly across a pond. And all you see is he just gracefully going across.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't see nothing but smoothness. But what you don't understand is that swan is kicking like hell under that water.
Yep.
And that's what people don't see, us as athletes kicking like hell, right? If you're not a first round draft pick or a franchise player, everybody else is kicking like hell to stay on that team. Everybody's kicking like hell to get some playing time. And that's what the people don't see. All they see is on Sunday, us gracefully out there catching balls with ease and running with ease, but they don't see that kicking that's going on in the weight room, the classroom, the knowing the playbook, right? And then having the pressure of taking care of your family and the pressure of your friends calling you and everybody calling you and your homegirls and your baby mamas and all that. They don't see all those things that we have to go through. And at the end of the day, we're still human beings.
Yeah.
We just a bunch of rich kids with expensive toys, but we still are kids at heart, and we have emotions.
For sure. Yeah, you knew to talk to those younger guys because they force you to miss a bonus, right? An extra 25,000.
Yeah. Yeah, in Detroit. And, it was a starting bonus, and the way they did it was, you get every 4 starts, you get a bonus. Every 4 starts. So, I'm one game away from getting my third $25,000 bonus. I got the first one, the second one, and the third one. It was the fourth one. And we go in the game, and we're in the run and shoot. So we got 4 wide receivers and 1 running back, Barry Sanders. They announce us. I run out on the field as a starter. They listed me as a starter. We started the game out with 3 wide receivers, 1 running back, and 1 tight end. And the very next play, I went in and played the rest of the game. And they said, technically, you didn't start the first play, so you wasn't considered a starter.
Wow.
Right then and there, it was really a wake-up call to me to say, this is a business. Because if they were, you got people in the office thinking about this stuff, right? Yeah. I mean, they hire people just specifically to see how they could save money based on what's in your contract.
Yep. Yep.
You see it all the time now with guys only need 1 or 2 catches or 1 or 2 starts or 100 yards or something like that. That if you're not their favorite player, they're not going to do it. I think I seen a couple of games ago where a running back needed some yards to get a bonus, and he was like, "No, let the young guys get it." That's very rare.
Yeah.
Right. But the fact that somebody called down from up there to say, not no coach, right? Not the offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator that's sitting up in the booth. Somebody in the administrative office recognized that guy needed X amount of yards to get a bonus, and they called down and said, hey, see if he wants to get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw that. Saquon Barkley. That's who that was.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. How do you not take that personally, though? Man, it's tough. Now, I get it as a businessman. Let's help some other people. How do you not take something like that personally?
Well, I'm not saying I didn't take it personally. I took it as a motivation, and I took it as a learning tool to say, don't make the same mistake again.
Yeah.
We as athletes, what do we do after practice and after a game? What is the first thing we do after we shower? And most of the time, not even in practice, before we even shower. What we do? We go watch film to see what mistakes we made in that practice or what we made in the game. Yeah. And what do? We make sure we don't make that same mistake again.
Yeah.
So I looked at that as a learning tool to say, do I want my bonuses based off my starting? So you can still have it in there. Just make sure you put language in there.
Yeah.
That maybe say it ain't just you not playing the first play.
Yeah.
So I took it as a way of learning, whereas fool me once, shame on me, fool me again, shame on you, fool me again, shame on me.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I don't take it personal. And I think that helped me not just in football, but moving forward in business, moving forward in my relationships, moving forward with my family, as to not take anything personal.
Yeah, that's good.
And not make decisions based off emotions.
That's good. Yeah, let's shift over to the business. They can read the book to get the rest of the football story. But what gave you the idea to open your first business, which was the finance company with your first wife? What gave you the idea to do that?
Well, I always had a business mindset, right? Even though I grew up in a poor neighborhood, my father taught me business, and and he taught me even though he didn't. But I was one of those guys. I was a realist. I knew my career was about to end. So my wife and I sat down and said, okay, what's the best thing that we can go into that if we do it, and even if we had employees, and if our employees walk out on us, we could run the day-to-day operation. Now, with her with a degree and a background in accounting, and us owning check cashing stores and loan stores and all that, that was something that if all of our employees left, we can go in and do that. I don't know how to cook, so I wasn't going to open up a restaurant. I didn't drink alcohol, so I didn't know I wasn't going to open up a club. Yeah. So we narrowed it down to things that we could do that if everybody left, we could do. So we went into that and real estate. So I bought a number of rental properties. In North Carolina, I bought commercial land to develop it. Those are the things that I knew I could do. And so I knew that was my last contract, right? I knew that. Yeah. And so that's why I invested the money into that. So like I said, if I didn't play another down in NFL, we didn't live an extravagant lifestyle to the point where our expenses were $12,000, $15,000, $30,000 a month in expenses, but we were not bringing in that revenue on a monthly basis.
Yeah. So why don't most guys understand that, like to invest their money, especially when they know, well, at the beginning when it's flowing, especially nowadays, why don't most guys know to, at minimum, this is what I always say, get some rental property? Because we're all in real estate. I've heard this before. We're all in real estate. We're just on one side of the cash register or the other. So why don't most guys even know to even just invest in real estate?
Well, it's not just one thing that is why. In most cases, that person has a bunch of people around him that are yes men and that are looking out for their own personal interests. I didn't have that. I had 3 guys that I was friends with, right? And that was it. Um, and then the other thing is most of them don't have the business background. Most of them think they're gonna play football forever. So as I mentioned in my book, if I sign a 4-year deal where I can spend this first 2 years, then I save. I'm guilty of that. My first 2 years, even though I didn't make a lot of money, I did that. But as I grew older and started seeing it, I started realizing that there's life after football.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to play the 9 years, but a lot of guys don't get there. So I think it's a combination of things, but I also think it is something that you got to want too.
Hey, what's going on, man? It's Dennis Haley. I am the author of the playbook, The Art of Dreaming. Just want to say a special thank you to Kelly Cole and the Publishing Advantage Group team. Man, they were with me from day one until the time I finished, and still with me to this day. What a blessing to have them be with me and to walk me through this journey and to be a part of this journey. They have been nothing but class acts, and they know what they're talking about. And just again, it is a blessing to be a part of this team and for them to guide me down the path to success. So thank you for everything that you have done. I look forward to many more projects with you guys and continue to be a blessing to many. Thank you.
Yeah.
And a lot of guys just can't let go of being a professional athlete and being in the limelight and having to go and work in your own store, right? And not be embarrassed about it.
Yeah.
Because people used to come in my check cashing stores and stuff, and I would be behind the counter. And what are you doing back there? It's my business.
Right.
I enjoy this.
Right.
So it's a lot of things. Now I will tell you this. Looking at the guys now, I think they're a lot more business savvy as the guys that we grew up with in our era. I think they're a lot more business savvy now.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Dang, I lost my question. I had a follow-up question to that. So you just got good at doing business by doing business, like you said, or your dad taught you certain things? Like, how did you get good at business?
That's a great question. I think it was not just my dad, but growing up with people like white guys like Brack Road. His dad owned Brack Road Chevrolet. David Perno, guys I grew up that I considered my brother. His dad owned Arby's and a tuxedo place. And Chris Morocco, his dad owned a real estate company. And growing up with those guys, and Ricky Chastain, white guy who owned the insurance company, I always said I wanted to be like them. I remember, I'll tell you a story. My best friend and cousin, their mother was the maid for Ricky Chastain, who owned Chastain Insurance, but he owns a number of rent centers, and he had a business mindset. So I remember it was a Wednesday. I'll never forget it. We went over to Mr. Chastain's house and pick up his mom, and we were out there raking leaves, right? Because I used to cut grass when I was a kid too. I used to cut the Haywood Allen Cadillac dealership grass as a kid. And I remember going over their house on Wednesday, and his wife was like, I want to go to Hawaii. And like on Friday, they went to Hawaii. And I said, that's the life that I want to live. So once I came to the conclusion that's the life that I wanted to live, then I started asking myself, well, how am I going to be able to live that life? What am I going to do to get to that point?
Yeah.
So even now, I'm one of these people, I can sit here today and I'll say, I'm fortunate enough to say, oh, I want to go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
I'll look at flights, and if they're reasonable, because I own my own business and I can do it, I just booked me a flight. I did it for my wife and I. We went to Paris for Olympics.
Yeah.
2 weeks before the Olympics, I called my wife and said, you got your passport updated? She said, yeah. I said, we're going to Paris for the Olympics.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate enough to catch some good flights on Delta, reasonable flights, and we went over. So I knew early on that's the type of life I wanted to live, where I didn't want to work for anybody. So if I wanted to take off and I knew I was going to raise kids, and like my daddy didn't miss my games, I didn't want to have to go ask my boss, can I take off to watch my kids play sports?
That's it.
And I do not miss any of my kids' games ever.
That's good. Yeah, that's good. I love that. All right. Well, we could talk about this book and your life and all of that. I'm gonna get you out here. A couple more questions. First question was, next to the last question is, what was it like when you got the email that you actually hit #4 on the Amazon bestsellers list? What was that like?
It was a shocker to me. I'm like, already, right? Because Kelly, you and I talked about this. I wrote this book really with kind of pessimistic about who's going to read it, and I was just doing it just because I always wanted to write a book. I didn't care if one person bought it or a million people bought it.
Yeah.
Right. But so it was, I started sending it out to my friends and family. They was like, congratulations. And I was like, already? So, but then the feedback that I've gotten from people is, man, when I started reading this book, I can't put it down.
Yeah.
You've got some interesting stories that I never knew. And I'm kind of giving people insight. What people always wanted to know, what is it like to be an NFL player? And my family and friends around me, like I said early on, they said, man, you write stuff in this book I didn't even know about you.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've been a person, I've never talked much about me playing football or talk about my life. I don't brag about that stuff. I don't talk about it. So the things that I was putting in this book, a lot of my friends and family didn't even know because I just didn't talk about it.
Mm. That's good. That's good. So last question. What was it like working with Books for Athletes? And do you recommend other athletes come to us to help them tell their stories?
100%. As I told you when we first started this, I was kind of skeptical about it, as you know. And me being a business person, I'm like, is this a waste of my time? Are these guys going to do a great job? And sometimes you look at the situation and your pricing and all that, and I'm like, this is too good to be true, right?
Mm-hmm.
I swear, I was like, no way, no way. But then when you get me with the right writer, and that's the other thing is that you got to be able to gel, and your writer understands you, and maybe put you and frame you as we talked about, not as an angry black man, right? Or angry person, but somebody that took trials and tribulations and used them to your advantage and showing other people, this is what I went through. So if you ever faced with this, you can read this book and see how it doesn't happen to you. So I was skeptical, and we talked about this. In fact, I think it took me a while to pull the trigger on this thing, right? I think I came back to you, 5, 6, 7 months later, maybe a year later.
Yep.
But I can tell you right now, I have been 100% satisfied with your staff, the response of the ghostwriter with brother Jesse, how we sat down, the time that we spent, the recordings and him dictating and doing things, asking questions, asking me to feedback, asking me to clear this up. And, we made a couple of changes in the book and correction because everybody's human. And you guys had so much patience with me on that. And I would highly, highly recommend it to other athletes and entertainers, period. I can tell you from it right now, my experience was something that I was hoping that it would be, but it went above and beyond my expectations. And the book, this book here and the way you guys framed it and the look on it, the design and everything for the price. Now, I don't want you raising your prices now, but
they're going up. They're going up.
right?
2025,
But
all prices
right, but
going up.
but no, but man, I 100% I endorse it.
Appreciate it, my brother. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Real quick before you go, do you have a book signing plan coming up?
I'm looking at avenues. I had to order my first 25 copies,
Okay.
which by the way, someone has already wrote me a check uh for me to donate those some of those books to the two schools here. Um, right. They already wrote me a check and said, I want you to get these books to the head coaches at both of the football, at both athletic directors. So I'm waiting to get the book. I'm going to be on WXAG, which is a local black new radio station. I think next week I read the introduction to the book that they played today. They have it every Wednesday, so I think I'm going to go on next Wednesday to promote the book. But I wanted to wait until I get my shipment in from Amazon to do it. One of the people that read the book said, you need to go talk to the manager at Barnes and Nobles and get your book in Barnes and Noble. So once I get it, I'm gonna take it and get it to the manager and let them have it selling. I probably talk to them about doing a book selling. Because Barnes and Noble is only like 2 miles away from my sports arena here in Athens.
That's awesome. Well,
Yeah,
let me know, brother. I'll be there. Make sure I gotta get my
absolutely.
copy and I gotta get you on my wall back here.
Oh yeah, okay. I'll get you a jersey.
For sure, man. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, man. Let me know if you can need anything, if I can do anything for you.
Sounds good. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Have a great day.
All right. You too.
Listen, thanks so much for checking out this episode of the Books for Athletes podcast. Do me a favor, please like, comment, subscribe, and share this episode. We want to help more athletes tell their story. We want to help more athletes get their story out. So if you could support this podcast, all I need you to do is like, comment, share, and please subscribe to my channel so we can grow on YouTube and start monetizing this channel. All right, if you prefer to listen, we're on all podcast listening platforms as well: Apple, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more. Wherever you are, please like, subscribe, comment, and please share this episode with someone. And I appreciate you. I'll see you on the next one.